There has never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. Whether you're ready to start, restart, or re-energize your vegan or plant-based practice, this podcast is for you. I'm Michele Olander, life coach, vegan, ADHD matriarch, travel lover, and smoothie loather. And I know that it's the details that get in the way of your vegan journey. But I like to believe that the obstacle is always the way. So every week we meet here where I translate the tools of life coaching and Stoic philosophy. I bring you actionable tips, some laughs, interesting guests, and vegan ideas for everyone at any age. All to help you veg your best. Episode 241. You can't solve a vague vegan problem. Hi, my veg heads. This episode was supposed to be finalized days ago. I have all the excuses right now. I just moved back north from being in Florida for a couple of months with some of my family members. And there are taxes. Yeah, this episode is actually coming out April 15th. There are taxes to finalize. And the news, well, I don't watch TV news, but that doesn't mean that the news doesn't find me somehow. And I'm going to France with my husband for an anniversary celebration. And you know those anniversary traditions, right? For gifts, like your first anniversary is cotton, and I don't know, maybe I've got a list here. Your 10th anniversary is tin. Your 15th anniversary is crystal. Well, your 36th anniversary is Paris. So I've been to Paris a few times, quite a few times, and one of my dear friends is there. And with everything going on and coaching my marvelous clients, I have neglected to pack, and I'm leaving the house tomorrow morning around 10. So I need to get moving. And I haven't made the reservations for the vegan restaurants in Paris and Strasbourg that I wanted to, and there are a lot more plant-based restaurants in Paris these days, a lot. And so it was really obvious to me last time I was there where to go, but now there's a bunch more to try. And of course, I've never been to Strasbourg, and I want to make sure that I have time with one of my dearest friends. You need to follow her on social media, Angela Randall and her partner, Sylvain Laforge. They are, their musical name is Lux the Band, Lux, Lux the Band, and I'm going to pop their links in the show notes. But they have 2 albums. They are easy to find on Spotify, and they're great. They're marvelous. And anyway, I've been thinking, OMG, there's too much to do. Reservations, tickets for galleries and museums. You know, I'm kind of a culture vulture. Itinerary, train tickets between Paris and Strasbourg. I don't want to take the slow train. I want to take the fast train. I have to pack shoes. How many shoes, right? How many shoes? Is it going to be wet? I haven't looked. I think it's going to be wet. My brain's been thinking all of this, and my body has not been doing that much at all to accomplish any of it. And then earlier today, I'm coaching one of my brilliant clients. She is building a vegan business, and she knew she was kind of talking in circles. And I said, okay, well, let's try and get clear on one of the things, because we just can't solve a vague problem. What's one of the problems? And I see, note to self, I'm going, okay, well, when I get off this call, I've been trying to solve very vague problems all week, getting ready for this trip. And it's what we all have a tendency to do, don't you think? But if you listen here, maybe you'll use this information to solve your vague vegan problem. But it's the same how we go vegan, how we go plant-based. It's all the way we handle anything that's a challenge, that's new, that we don't have sorted quite yet. So anyway, what do I even mean, a vague vegan problem? Well, I'll give you a few examples that tend to come up. I've heard a couple of these this week. I need to eat better. I should get back to being more plant-based or more whole food plant-based. I want to stop slipping up so much. And what was the other one I have? Oh, I was doing so well, Michele, and then life happened. Did any of that sound familiar to you? Oh, these sound like goals. They sound like goals. They sound like the person saying them is motivated, and they sound like they're on the right side of history. But you know what they actually are. They're very fuzzy. They're very blurry and nebulous. Nebulous. It's a good word. They're not solvable. They're not actionable, and that is the problem, because you can't solve a vague problem. You really can't solve a vague vegan problem, because you can't act on something that you haven't really defined what it is you want, the outcome you want, or the obstacle that's in the way that you need to accommodate in some way. And our brains love a vague problem, don't they? And this could get a little nerdy. This could get a little nerdy. Our brains love vague problems because they keep us safe. They keep us spinning. If you don't change anything, then nobody can say, "Oh, that was wrong. You did that wrong," or "Boy, you're not really keyed into what the issues are here. You deflect yourself from being criticized by other people while you're just spinning." A vague problem means you can't fix it. There's no failure there. Even if it's not what you want, still there's no uncomfortable change. And you can stay in thinking about it mode for weeks or months or decades. I was going to say one of the words I've learned along the way from some coach, and I'm trying to remember. I'd love to give her credit. Procrastinating. Procrastiplanning. So procrastinating by learning more, researching more, planning more. And it can go on for a really long time. If you're me, it can go on for decades. And there's an illusion of progress because, of course, you should learn more and research more and plan. There's nothing wrong. Those sound fabulous, right? But there's not necessarily any progress in those situations unless you put yourself out there for some of that vulnerability that comes from actually trying to change something. Now, behavioral scientists call it the intention action gap. We have the intention to go plant-based or eat better or live more compassionately or be more ethical in our purchases, but without a clear behavior to anchor that to, our follow through just has nothing to attach itself to. And in coaching, we see it all the time, all the time, all the time. In my life, you just watch me, you could just follow around with me. It happens all the time. Positive psychology tells us that change comes when we tap into clarity and our agency, and we look for some small wins. But we tend to worry that with those changes will come guilt, maybe some shame, some criticism. So when you say, "I want to eat better," your brain goes, "Great, good, that's great. Eat better. Who could be against that?" And then it does absolutely nothing different. Or maybe it goes, "Oh, you know what? There's a magazine article over there on the coffee table about eating better." Because what does better even mean? What does better mean to you? What does better mean to what does better mean? When? How? What are you measuring? That's what I mean about vague. And when you're first or later on your vegan or plant-based journey, no matter where you are, you'll start feeling some sort of plateau, maybe some level of stuckness. And sometimes coaching can really help you to decide, what is it I'm trying to accomplish here? Because we are drawn to stay vague. So we could try something together. Let me try to a few vague vegan thoughts we could try on, and then we'll translate them into something maybe a little more actionable and clear. And I'm just going to do these off the top of my head here, but you want to cut back on dairy. So you might want to be more specific about which dairy. Which dairy do you eat a lot of dairy? Do you consume a lot of dairy? Is it in cheese? Is it in your creamer in your coffee? Where does dairy show up? Okay, and what does cut back mean? Does cut back mean none? Does cut back mean try different ones? Maybe you haven't liked some of the vegan cheeses that you've tried, or vegan spreads to replace butter or to replace yogurt. So anyway, you want to what does that mean? You want to cut back on dairy. To be clear, maybe you might say this week I'm going to try a different brand of oat milk in my coffee and cereal. Okay, that is a lot more specific. I need to eat more whole foods, very vague. I'm going to make a batch of lentil soup on Sunday. Much clearer. I want to be more consistent. I have said this myself many, 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 many times. I want to be more consistent. Yes, I want to be a more consistent person. What does that even mean? What is more vague than that? I want to be more consistent. So, how about I am going to do Tofu Tuesday this week? And I'm going to try for Tofu Tuesdays for the next couple months so I can learn to make tofu delicious and easy. That's nice and clear. And then if you're not consistent with that, what would make it easier? These are solvable strategies when you get a little clearer, when you go from something foggy and amorphous, you get clear. In coaching, we sometimes call it stupid simple, which is not, it's not that you're stupid. It's not that I'm stupid. It's that we miss out on stupid, simple actions that can move the needle and won't be exhausting to us. That won't require all kinds of new skills, all kinds of new preparations. We don't want to make it harder. We want to look for any stupid, simple way of doing it. Like, what's the stupid, simple version of going vegan? Okay. If that's the part that's got you stuck right now, I'm having trouble going vegan. What? What is the trouble? That's too vague. I'm having trouble going vegan. What is the problem? Is it breakfast? Is it travel? Is it dessert? Is it sweaters? Is it shoes? Get specific. What's this? And what is one stupid, simple, easy thing you can do? Maybe it's tonight I'm making pasta with marinara sauce and roasted veggies. Maybe it's I'm going to call Michele and ask her where she got her cork purse. So it's not go vegan. It's what part of being vegan this week or today is tripping me up. Maybe it's not, I need to be more intentional. I hear that from people a lot, and it sounds great. I'm going to be more intentional. I've said that myself. But what does intentional look like? When somebody is intentional, what are they doing? Maybe they're curating their feed in their social media. Maybe they're no longer following food accounts that use animal products in them. Maybe they're replacing them with some vegan influencers and chefs and cooks. So maybe you're going to follow one or two vegan food creators on Instagram this week. Now, why does this matter? The lion's share of my listeners are not in the first flush of youth. They are people usually in that second half, in midlife and beyond. And I think in midlife, we don't have time to waste in the fog. I don't think we've got time to waste being vague. And if you start to notice where you're vague, Notice what makes it feel safer to be vague. I think you'll find that that ripples through all parts of your day-to-day life, because in the second half of life you have just got too much wisdom. You have too many relationships, too much compassion, too many people looking to you. Maybe it's your kids or grandkids, maybe it's your students or clients or neighbors. You can't just dabble anymore, not in things that matter to you. And if you could give up that idea that you're going to be perfect, that you're going to have it dialed in, that the change is just going to go from not doing it to completely doing it perfectly, if you can let go of that, then you can just go, oh, I need to find a solution for this one vegan problem. Or maybe it's one home problem. Or maybe it's one organizational problem. Or maybe it's one digital photos problem. It's not a strategy that is only for going vegan. And that's why if you can apply it to your vegan journey, you'll see so many other ways to use this in the rest of your life. Clear doesn't mean big. It can mean very simple. It can mean just repeatable. And that's how we build a sustainable, plant-based lifestyle, not with grand gestures, but with grounded clarity. So your challenge this week, my veg head, your challenge is basically the same as mine. Maybe you don't need it in the same place I do, but get specific. Don't say I need to get back on track. What? that came out of my mouth about an hour ago. I got to get back on track. Don't say I should eat less processed food or I want to be more ethical. All right. If you do notice yourself saying it, think, oh, but that sounds a little vague. Notice any vague problem you've been carrying around. If you're like me, you'll find 6 or 7, but just choose one. Just choose one and then rewrite it. Rewrite it. Make it stupid simple. Make it a problem that you can solve. I cannot solve the rest of my life. I can't even solve next week's vacation. Okay, I can just solve bits and pieces of it, one at a time. I can make a reservation. I can do 10 minutes of research about the hours that the museum I want to go to is open. You know, there's 2 museums in Paris that have been recently redone and were not open last time I was in Paris. The Cluny Museum of Medieval Art, which is one of the things it's famous for, is the tapestry of the lady with the unicorn, which is super famous. But anyway, that's my era that I'm more interested in than anything is medieval art, medieval European art. So the Cluny Museum is on my list, and the Carnavalet Museum, which is the Museum of the History of Paris. I saw it not too long before it closed to be redone, and I heard it's been redone in a really beautiful way. So those are 2 things. I can just look up those hours and make sure that I am not planning to go there on the day that it's closed. So I can do that. That's very specific, right? Figuring out my entire week's agenda, vague. Finding out when several things that I want to see are open or closed, very clear. I can solve that problem. So this was a very off the top of my head, unclear, perhaps, episode, which maybe gives you a little behind the scenes understanding of my life and how I approach coaching in my life and how coaching can work for vegans building their businesses, vegans with their relationships, vegans traveling, maybe to Paris. But the main thing is we want to notice when we're being vague because we hide there so much. A friend of mine said the other day, "Oh, I'm just not following through with anything." And I said, "Well, what?" She goes, "Everything." Okay. I don't think any of us can solve everything. But maybe there's one area where there's no follow through or not sufficient follow through that could be made a little more specific, a little more clear, a little more objective. And sometimes we think, oh, if I'm doing that, well, there's just too much else that needs to be fixed. One of the things I learned a number of years ago when I became a coach, when I first found coaching, even before I became a coach, solving one thing, getting specific about one thing, creating a plan about one thing, that ripples through your life in a beautiful way, in an amazing way. And we can think, oh no, I have to figure out the right thing. No, anything you get traction on helps everything else. So if you've got a vague vegan problem, if you have a vague problem, if you have friends with vague vegan problems, you'll see it in them much quicker than you'll see it in yourself. I promise you that. But a vague problem just can't be solved. We need to get specific. And sometimes it can be a little confronting to get specific. It brings up thoughts that we should have done this by now. We could have done this before, that we've wasted time or money or resources or relationships that were impacted by something that we haven't dealt with. But carrying that around is weighing on us. It is. So this week, what kind of vagueness are you going to look for? When you say always, I need to stop, I need to start, I need to learn, get really specific, because you can take one small, clear step this week and it's going to bring you so much closer. You're going to think, oh, I can't solve all of that now. You can get much closer. Much closer. So that's the real revolution. That's how we veg our best, kids. We solve real problems, not vague vegan problems. Okay. Get clear about that problem and veg your best. Veg Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Veg Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. Something about algorithms, it helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.